they want a new park, and he is intending to spearhead that. Yeah. Councillor Selk raises hand first. Go ahead.
If we can just back up. Tanya also asked if there was any appetite for a Zoom meeting between her and your municipalities.
Correct.
Question and answer. So I guess that's something that needs to be considered as well.
I'm just wondering, just after AUMA, do you think there is questions that we have? No, because of all the resolution, all the discussion, I was thinking maybe it's a little early. If it was in 3 months' time, I would say, yeah, we might have some kind of idea. Maybe that is something you could say we're not opposed to it. Let's put it this way.
I don't think she put a time frame on it. So.
No, but this is why when I thought just coming out of AUMA, it's a little too early. But yes, I think it's nothing ever wrong with having a report. She's very good at reporting. Are you okay with that? Yes?
I'll email her and tell her you're interested in the near future.
Sure. Yeah, not right now.
Sure.
So...
I had a question.
Go ahead.
To this one. So I just was wondering, how much did we sell? He's wanting the funds that we made for the sale of this $90,000 skateboard park. I'm just wondering, how much did we sell it for? Like, is it a pretty good chunk of change that can be thrown?
No.
I need to go look, Councillor. I don't know. I want
Did they raise all that money themselves?
It's a town of Pincher Creeks that got it.
I'd have to go find that. I'm not clear on that either. So I need to find that out.
It was rather beat up.
And the second part of that question was, well, he talked about why it was beaten up. Second part of that question was, have we given him the names of the young men that came and presented earlier with their families so that, or?
I think he's aware of that.
Okay.
Yeah, he hasn't asked me for that.
The letter seems to say that he knows who they are.
Says he knows who they are.
Okay.
So what exactly does council want to do with this item?
Do you want him to Parks and Rec?
Councillor Selk made a good point. If we do go forward with this, let's put it out at the Agrodome. Get it away from any Main Street areas, and there's lots of room.
But you need to have, you know,
raise the money, stick it out there.
every town has found that the minute it's hidden, you have a culture, a subculture that start to create itself around that. The only way that it is worthwhile having is in a very public place.
And that's where it was, but then they spray painted all behind Main Street all over the place. It wasn't a very public place, and we still got the same results.
Wait until our rec center
Yeah,
gets built.
but I do not know the answer to this issue, really. Councillor Brown, Councillor Selk.
I just think it would be, as far as what we need to do with this letter, I would just think as long as he's aware of the other group that's already that already came to council, that already pitched it, get them working together and let's see where it goes. Let them do the footwork. Again, it's like the dog park. It's not necessarily about, like, let's see how serious they are. If in fact this group can come up with some money and ideas and all the rest of it, then they can bring it to council. Right? Like, I mean,
Fair enough.
don't feel like we need to micromanage this.
Fair
Whatever
enough.
they do, it should be a good quality park. It can't be one that they can go lay underneath of it and get in there and sniff and all the different things that were going on over there. Should be a concrete place, just like over in Lethbridge and other towns, something that is really nice, that's not going to break down, a good facility. And
It was for the police a constant issue.
Yeah.
And we do not want it to become a new constant issue. They have other things to police rather than just a park. But there is also great success story with those parks. And so, all right, so we as council want to let that group
That's a good idea.
come with ideas and then make, okay, fine.
Best way to go.
So that's great. So all that is done. Let's go back to the more meatier part. 7H, Sergeant Wright, I think we got enough information through our discussion.
Yes.
Anything else that you want to add? You okay? All right. Regarding the presentation of the two rec facilities, I have prepared something, just a few reflections, and you will see some of those questions have been answered through the discussion.
Doing to me, debug.
The media may want one. Right.
Mayor, I'm
I'm sorry?
using myself for a minute.
You're using yourself?
Just for a minute.
Okay, so regarding those two, if you don't mind me, we heard a lot of thoughts this past month and a half or so, and I really feel there's a little bit of anxiety around seeing the project moving forward. And I really tried to think in my mind, why aren't we able to really make it move faster? And I really came to realize that the same when we have to make decisions about anything, if we don't have the right bylaw or policies in place, it doesn't seem to work. So I was trying to think, what is it that we need to know in order to really put that and push forward? So what I said here is that there are certain elements that need to be dealt with. First of all, I think we need to accept to be heard and to be understood in a dignified manner. It's no sense to get upset at each other, and it's not going to bring us nowhere. So let's keep our cool and move forward, because we put money aside, we know we want it, let's figure out how we're going to do that. Two, and I really think that we need to accept that council alone and without undue external pressure will make the best informed decision. We will listen, we will hear, we will mull it through our head, but we need to have proper design, and Councillor Brown, you're right. We didn't have the design for the golf course. In consequence, I want us to make a decision, we couldn't make it because we don't know what it is. We need to have estimate. There again, there were none, and we didn't know where we were going with it. The financial model needs to be in place somewhat. And we need to be reviewing all that through our planning, our administration, our finance department. We need to kind of nail it down to something that's a little bit more realistic than just sheer estimate. We need to be tightening up those estimates. So that will build trust, and we can see the project moving. Every time we get a new change of amount, it makes me nervous because I don't know what we're talking about. So 3, determine the needs assessment. And you know, if you really look in your packet, when you had factor 5 or whatever, who did that, and let's go Cardston, there is something interesting in one of the municipal priorities that says, under community engagement, ensuring recreation facilities and services reflect the needs of local residents through comprehensive community engagement. And I found that extremely interesting because when you turn the page and look on the performance framework, under community engagement, they say ensuring recreation facilities and services reflect the needs of local residents, so same goal. And that's a measure, number of local residents that provide input on a project target, 1,000 by the summer 2020. That was a target then, 1,000. So if you look at 1,000 and our population, let's say 4,000, we're talking 25% of the population. If you look at in terms of household or voters, 1,000 to 1,200 voters, that's a lot. That's about 70 to 80%. So I'm thinking, okay, how do we achieve that? How do we get that amount? When their study was 64 reply, representing 0.05% of the population, therefore being absolutely statistically irrelevant. So I'm thinking, how do we do it to get relevance? And those who are sold on it will always be there for us, and those are those 64 that answered this thing. There is something that we did a while back when it was regarding the census. If you remember, we had hired a company to be able to have 90% response and higher to the census issues that we had when we did the municipal census. And whatever could not be reached the way they had it set up, we did appoint through our employees to reach those people. And in consequence, we were able to add 400 people to our demographic results. So that is one possibility. But what is certain, it appears to be, when I did that study, a very important measure that we cannot ignore. Just a thought. Just simply a thought. Then what I thought, under for determine as council the future use of ICF rec facility from the county. Councillor Selk, you were bringing that up. I kind of brought that up as saying the idea of the ICF was to try to recoup money for what we already have in place. That was the intent. But it appears that there might be another interest for the use of that money. But if you realize the taxpayer is already paying out of their taxes 25% for recreation facilities, how much more can we ask of them? And is it not a time to maybe use that toward those high taxation for facilities, which it was intended to do? As you say, it's a philosophical question. So I'd like to know what council think on this one. And you may want to reflect on it. So I think at 5, we have had the answer. I know the answer now. The $1.5 million is what the town will put forward, not counting the donations. That's what I understand. So I think we can leave that alone. 6, accept that council will factor in their decision the demographic makeup of our population. As you say, 40% is white hair and seniors. 40% is young family, 20% of which probably don't have the disposable income. So when we talk about future costs, it's not so much a capital cost that is my worry. Is the operational cost, because that's what raises taxes. So we need to think about that. And if we are agreeable on that, I think we can move forward. And we also need to have buildings that are of good and durable quality. I don't want something that is of poor quality, of course. And so under 8, I think we have the answer too. The answer was, do we do one recreation building or 2? And it seems to me around the table, if I understand you well, the appetite is to have 2. Am I correct on this one? Okay. Then the point 9 is still a big unknown for us. And I don't know how you solve that, except with what Councillor Selk you suggested to say to Gibb, it's $1 million, try to pitch that to the county. So maybe that answer that. And as for the school board, we still don't know where we're going. And as to the fundraiser, we don't know about that either. We know that for sure the golf course has not started fundraising. And I don't know that the Pickle Association has started fundraising. Do you know?
Well,
pickleball?
let's put it this way, Mayor. Yes and no. The president of the Pickleball Association has already sort of verbally made a commitment,
I know that, yeah.
and the rest of them have sort of tacitly made some commitments, but they also have been charged with the fact that you need to get busy fundraising.
Right. Okay, so just, all right. So there was something also that I wanted to talk about, and I don't know where I put it.
Mayor, can I just add?
Yeah,
The Pickleball Association has a meeting tomorrow night.
okay.
And I'll make sure that the Secretary-Treasurer emphasizes the need to get fundraising.
Okay, under 10, I really feel that no matter which project it is, the town must supervise the overall construction of that project, the purchasing and all that stuff. I cannot see that let out of the bag for anybody in a community without us, who will have that building and who will incur the cost at the end,
What you're saying
not
is no
having the
carte blanche?
oversight.
No carte blanche.
No. And there is one more point that I really want to bring, and I'm done.
Oh, no, I don't.
Anybody believe that?
No, but
make
I mean,
promises.
we have not answered those questions, but I can tell you what is in my mind, and I really feel if we were able to go through those things within the next 2 weeks and kind of say, yeah, this we know, this we know, this we know. Okay, how do we deal with that? And then I think we can move forward much more easily, and I think with greater consensus. That's what I hope this will do. Truly, I believe that, and I give you my word, for whatever it's worth. I have one question, though. Let me finish with that.
I knew you weren't done.
And my question is more about the point that's probably the most important of all. At what point do we give the go to a project when we do not know which grant we have, nor donation available? It puts me in a position where I am concerned that if we say we go ahead now, the reason for trying to get money otherwise diminishes. So is there a percentage where we can say when we reach 50% of our goal in fundraising, the town will 100% go ahead with the project? Say, yes, we go. Council will approve it. There has to be a threshold where we can say it's a go or it's a no-go. It has to be somewhere. We can't leave it up in the air hoping it will happen. It's dangerous. Yes, Councillor Selk. I know you have a smile.
Have a smile or a remark? Okay. Let me just say 2 comments quickly. One is I think that Gibb, for instance, is very comfortable with the notion that he would work with Brandon on this facility, okay? He's very comfortable with that notion. So if that sort of allies your concerns, maybe that will help.
Well, that's number 10, yeah.
Number 2 is that I hope you don't want an answer from us tonight about
No.
when the threshold is met, because I think we've sort of agreed that this should be on council's agenda from now until who knows when.
No, I totally agree, but I really think, I don't know what's your reaction to my points there, but I really came to realize that as we have discussion, those points came up at different time from different councillors. And I really think that it come a point where if we could answer them honestly, fairly, with transparency, we should be able to move forward, probably even to the spring 2021 to do that. But I think let us work together on resolving the angst that some may have regarding that project. That's all I ask. Councillor Gold?
I will be the bad guy since I am from Raymond. And raise the D word. We've debentured for hundreds of thousands of dollars for underground, there, here, there, and everywhere. If we needed to debenture a few $100,000 to get at least the golf course done, I don't see a problem with borrowing. I understand you want to find out with the community center if this can be popular enough to go ahead with it or not. If we actually need to borrow a little bit, I don't see an issue with that. I'm not talking the Raymond level of borrowing. But
Well, I would caution us all go into the borrowing. Let's try to go through other
Well, I understand
other
that too.
lines of financing before we even access
before we
that.
shut down a project, that would have to be taken into consideration.
Well, I'm not shutting down a project. I just want to make sure that the parties who say they're going to fundraise are aggressive. Councillor Brown knows what aggressive means. She's done it for the soccer fields. So she knows what aggressive is. So she understands that, I'm quite sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so to answer your question number 3, you actually brought that up during our last council meeting, and it
Yeah.
really made me think about it. So I went home, of course, thinking about all of the questions and everything, but that one really stuck in my mind was I was hugely frustrated when Factor 5 brought their analysis to us as the Parks and Rec Board, because I felt like that they hadn't, like they just hadn't, I didn't feel like they had talked to enough people, and that frustrated me. Like, not enough. I didn't like their numbers, because when we talked to them, they had said they were going to do this and that. Anyway, that's irrelevant. The moral of the story is I didn't like how many people they'd actually approached. And then I started thinking about something you had said when you were talking to council, and you'd said, which was valid, you'd said 4 of us, at least 4 of us, that are sitting in these chairs at this council, ran on the platform of having a rec board or a rec center, and you're 100% correct.
Yes,
That's valid.
you're right.
But then I started thinking, so let's look at votes. If we were to then go ahead and look at the votes of the councillors that ran on that platform, that's a lot of votes,
Is that the validation?
right?
Or did they vote you in because I loved you regardless what your platform?
Of
We
course,
don't know, right?
Delusional. We would like to know that we were loved by that many
Right.
people.
We don't know, right? Neither do I.
But you understand what I'm saying.
No.
Because you
And
brought up that point of 4 of us ran for
Yeah.
it, and many of us had a few votes, and if you were to add them up, that's a lot of people.
well, I think the same people who voted for the platform
Could be,
and
but still
could
it
be
was.
within. But if it is yours, you had the 800 plus votes or something like that. I don't know. So if we use that as a measurement, then it's representative of the wants of the community, totally.
It's just something you'd brought
Right?
up that I was thinking
No,
about.
and I said it on purpose because I'm cognizant that every council is elected for different reasons. When I was elected on being fiscally conservative, and I know that. Everybody, and in trying to find revenues for the town, and I believe I did that. So we all have different reasons why we are voted in. My platform was different from your platforms, and every councillor's platform is different. So I totally respect that. That's why I said it. It's because I respect that. I respect the voters, very much so.
Anyway, I just thought I'd
But
bring it up.
regardless of it, there is still the need for community engagement. We need to have, and I was even surprised to find that inside there. I think the numbers are too high. I think 1,000 is too high, personally. But community engagement, serious community engagement, I believe is important. So it's possible that we can, you see, the problem with the social media is not reliable in terms of voting through that, unless, like for the census, a person could only have the opportunity for one vote, which was that. Jeff, can you remember exactly how that census was done? Through which company and how exactly the mechanism worked? I can't
Yeah.
remember, but I know we had somebody exterior do
I
it.
believe it was the city of Airdrie. And what they did is they assigned every address in your roll with a unique number identifier, which was then taken to every home. And when you logged on to their site, you entered in that identifier to show that that household had reported, had voted. And then we knew all the houses that hadn't voted. We gave that 2 weeks or something, and then we went to the doors of the ones that hadn't voted. So it's effective in the fact that you know, you've heard, well, and again, you're not going to force anyone to vote, but you would know quite quickly if you have a relevant, statistically relevant sample that isn't duplicated. That's the one thing we find with our online surveys. We'll come in the morning and say, man, 60 people answered last night. Oh, it was 45 of them were the same person. Right, just doing the survey over and over and over and over. And so, we see that all the time. That's super common. So what this does is it's just reliable because the household only has one unique identifier. So you got the opinion of the household, and that's all they can do.
Okay, so Jeff, give me a little bit of a sense. Cost-wise, I know a plebiscite costs $7,000 or thereabout. So that's not where we're going.
No, I
So-
think that service cost us about $3,000, maybe $4,000 to do that. And then we had to send out, we hired people in the community to go and hit the rest. But we don't need 99% return in something like
No,
this, right?
no.
If you woke up 10 days later and you had 50% return,
It's fantastic.
that's pretty darn good statistically. You're happy about that.
Yeah, 30.
Okay,
And
so
that's
here's
an
a,
option.
here's a question for council. Is it worth us spending $4,000 for a project for $1.5 million and have a little bit more of the knowledge that we have full support and that no one can ever fault us for spending that money? Councillor Selk?
Of course. So you put the citizens of Cardston through that level of scrutiny when you did renovations on the pool and spent $3 million, right?
We had the money. We had the grants.
Yeah, you took almost $1 million from MSI and just over $1 million
Yeah.
from reserves.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. We had the money.
So
We didn't borrow.
aren't we saying we have the money now?
Yeah, we have the money now.
Aren't we saying that?
We
Or
have
am I
some of them.
Am I misinterpreting
Okay,
something?
so we have the money for 1.5 million.
By the
Well-
way, we think. We haven't done a budget with this yet. We just need to keep putting that out there.
No.
I don't have $1 million.
No, we have some of the money, some of the seed money, for sure we do. But we don't have the detail of it all, right? Anyways, can we not carry on thinking about those? Those are points that, unless you want to talk about the Schaefer and that, maybe what we need to decide today is a look. Are we okay with two buildings? Is that where we're going? Give me a thumb up. Okay, so it's two building. The location, is that the Edgewood location? Okay,
Can I put a provision on that, Mayor?
please, go ahead.
Sorry, I apologize, but I had a chance to travel to McGrath and see their affordable seniors housing on Wild Rose Place. And maybe there's a way
Oh,
of
yeah,
doing
I know
both,
that one.
where we, as Gib mentioned, we build the recreation facility, we put it as far forward on the lot as possible, and then we entertain some affordable seniors housing on the other part of the lot. So it serves both functions
Okay.
that we have some concerns about.
How many unit are you thinking?
I don't know. That would be a question that Brandon could probably better answer for us.
Do you know how they did that seniors housing over there?
I had grant.
They had grants.
Yeah, but
Was ministry.
what I'm saying is they didn't have those on the open market. That was
Yeah.
completely controlled by the town. So when those people bought those, they also signed a paper
That can't be
that they would be
sold.
turned back to the town,
At
that
the
the
same
town could
price.
sell, and there was a waiting list to buy
Yeah.
them when
Right.
they were putting it back up for sale. So it didn't go on the open market the same way
No.
as we do on a real estate market. The town had total control over the sale and the purchases.
Yeah.
So the sellers get the same amount back?
Yes,
But-
Yes.
yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly it.
They can't realize an upside.
There's no profit.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's
They're
the way
just
to
basically
go.
Paying
We
rent for
do
the
that.
place.
It's a great concept.
But
to
then-
do something like that.
Okay, so here is
It has
the,
its flaws, let me just put that
Okay.
out.
Pardon me?
Fair enough, Jeff.
People
speak to
won't
this.
invest back into the property,
right,
Right.
so why would you replace the flooring? Why would you replace the countertops?
Mm-hmm.
You can't realize that.
Yeah.
And so that's the struggle they have, then they essentially become rentals.
Yeah.
in,
Okay.
I mean, in BC, there is a little bit of a twist with that.
Yeah.
They have an organization where those people that pay, that own those units have to pay a little bit, something like a condominium fee.
I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, well, I know that system. And the ways they do it, that create reserve, and those reserve are there to replace the appliances or replace the roof or whatever.
But at least
That
we could
exists.
be somewhat creative with that piece of property.
Agreed. But we agree on the site.
Right.
Okay, but the site is,
So-
Councillor Drew?
So I just,
Sorry.
as I read through this, how do I say this? I feel like you're wanting a mandate from the taxpayers, which I understand that. And if that's something that we need to do, then we need to get on that and get it done.
Well, was my next question. Are we willing to entertain that, yes or no?
That's gonna cost us,
3,500,
How
4,000?
to do it. Yeah.
because I don't wanna just talk about, I just want to talk about that. If we're gonna, if we skin in the game, we're $1.5 million, then the next logical step is, if everybody on council feels like we need to get a mandate, then let's get the mandate. Because I don't want to talk about it for the next 3 or 4 council meetings to figure out that, oh yeah, down the road here, now we need to do that. I think we need to,
Yeah, I think time is of the essence. We
how
gotta
we
do-
do, I
Can-
don't know how,
can-
and I don't know how we do that. So,
Don't you think you need a little bit more information from our finance department, from our planning, and before we do that? I mean, would you do it without having that? That is one opinion, but it's not the
No,
full
I'm
opinion?
talking
What he's
about,
talking about.
we made a
Oh,
motion
I'm
today
sorry.
that we were going to $1.5 million. We
Right.
made that decision. Now we need to go to the taxpayers and say, this is what we're proposing.
Yeah.
Are you in agreement, yes or no?
Okay, so here's something that we need to keep in mind. The taxpayer will look 1.5 million and we say, okay, capital-wise, you probably can do it. But what is it going to cost me out of my taxes? And essentially, that's what I want, you know? I thought, yeah, $1.5 million, even $3 million, we know we can come to with the capital. Somehow we get there. What we don't know, and what is a frustration for me or any taxpayer, would be, okay, what am I talking about? Is that an increase of $50 a year in my taxes, or is that an increase of $100 to $200 in average? Well, an average of $200 means it can be $50 for one and can be $600 at the other end. So until we can nail that down, this is why I keep on saying, can we stop kind of changing the design all the time so that we can finally get down to the nitty-gritty of figure out, okay, what the operational cost going to be, and then move forward once and for all. But every time we change and can't come to anything firm, on a design or on that, we can never get administration to figure out what the cost will be for us.
So can I just ask another question then to Jeff? We build these two facilities, can we put our solar power to those facilities so that they're net zero
no.
from?
No.
So we,
Yes and no.
technically, we would need to expand the solar farm. So, right, we built it to our load at the time. So 2018 load, I think, is what we sized it to. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you can say it's offsetting whatever you want it to offset. It's just a gross amount of revenue that comes to us, right? But technically, we would increase the size of it to meet new load demands.
And so the revenue that we get back on a monthly basis that we, let's say we're operating at capacity and we sell
Yeah.
back to the NMAX.
Yeah.
Where does that money go, and can that money go towards?
So for the next 15 years, it's
It's
paying the
paid.
$3 million loan.
Okay, no, okay.
Yeah.
No,
Paying the debenture.
I'm saying that the money that we used to pay on our utilities. for the
yes,
town,
yes.
Buildings.
Yeah.
Now goes towards that $3 million. That's the payment that is that correct? Kind of?
Sure, yes, I can go with you there, yeah.
So the extra that we've talked about in the
Yeah,
past,
yeah.
where we have high demand, or we have low demands, but we have high capacity
Yeah.
to create energy, and we sell that back to NMAX.
Yes.
Where does that money go? Do you
So-
just put that on the loan, or
So
is
a
that?
couple of things is we don't, until we get a little down the road, we don't really know what that number looks like, right? So we're optimistic there's something, but yes, essentially, so we kept all the utility payments as normal in the budget. So the ice rink, the civic center, everything has its same electrical bill, and we continue to pay it. So that didn't really change. So right now, what the financials look like is the civic center. I mean, we just paid our power $1,800 last month, right, for the civic center. We still pay that every month. And then the revenue from the generation is technically paying the loan.
Okay.
But you could look at it the same way, that we're offsetting the electrical and the utility rates paying the loan. It all nets the same. But I don't know what that excess looks like yet.
No, I'm
That's
just
the
thinking
only thing.
outside the box of saying,
Yeah.
if we're concerned about running a facility and we're worried about the money, and if we have money over here,
Yeah.
then we could.
I just hate to say the electricity is the least of my worries almost on this. You know, it's my feeling on the scale it is now, it's a 6-figure facility annually to operate, at least. And I'm talking in the high hundreds is my early guess, but I have nothing to substantiate that. Just based on what we looked at for the previous facility. With the loan, it was really, but if we don't have the loan, that helps a ton. So you take the loan out of the previous facility, we were still at $260,000 a year. So let's scale that down. Are we still at $160,000 a year? I don't know yet, because we got to get the scale and scope handled, and then we'll start working on that.
I actually have a tough question. So, in regards to a needs assessment, to come up with a number that this council agrees is doable,
Relevant?
relevant. Thank
Yeah.
you. What would you say we could do? What would your thoughts be?
To try and get, let's say we have a goal of 30% return.
Right.
So that's a pretty good number.
So how many is that? How many?
So households?
Yeah.
350.
Okay, so
something like that.
350. So
Yeah.
what would be the best cost-effective?
So cost effective, you guys clipboard this thing and start knocking doors.
Exactly.
Well,
Honestly.
I'm serious.
No,
We
or we
help.
could, yeah. it's true.
Because when I ask this,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I know what we have, what Cardston Soccer has in the database for parents.
Yeah.
And I know others, which would be an email, and, you could do a monkey survey,
Survey Monkey, yeah.
that. You could do one of those surveys and get
Yeah.
them to do it, and we could get
Yeah.
you 350
Yeah.
in order to make council feel better about it. I'm just saying, is that reasonable?
Okay,
Yeah, that's up to you what you consider reasonable. If you think you need to hear from
Okay.
75, that's totally
So-
up to you.
But I'm just asking.
I would say
because we ran the
statistically, if you
other
got
one.
30%, that's significant.
but
They shouldn't have come.
can I just add something from a statistical
Yep.
point of view?
Yep.
What you need is not a target population like the soccer mom. you need a random population to make the return significant.
Which is why I brought up the seniors
Right.
as well, right?
So, but there again, then you have two targeted population. You need to be random. Random is what gives you the validity for your sampling. It has to be random sampling, which we still can do. Which we still can do.
We
It's
could randomly
doable.
generate addresses.
Yep.
That's not difficult to do.
Right, that's
We can do it. And if that's something, if we were to pull 350 household, fair enough. But I would do a little bit more than that to make sure that your result is positive,
Yep.
right? You want at least to hit a positive result.
Randomly generate addresses.
Hand them out to us, let's get to work.
Yeah, can do. Well,
I will do
the
them.
thing is, what are you telling them for operational costs yet, for example? And we got to get some of that sorted. Or what are you telling them?
Yeah, we have to have that first.
Well, that's what I keep on saying. All right, so to the next chapter next week. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll have it on the 27th again.
Thank you. And I think that is it, unless you have a few more questions or comments. No? All right, so we need to go back into closed session.
I'll make that motion to go back to closed session.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. And thank you to the media. We have three items.
Just doing the
We
first
have
one.
2 items actually right now.
Shem, can you,
We have a land use bylaw, third-party business interests that we done, and council.
which you won't have time for tonight. Yeah, you won't have time for it.